I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm Ginger Conlon.
And that makes us the CRM Playaz for the next hour. So whatever. It's good to see.
Yeah.
Look at. I thought she looks like really dressed up. It's nice. You look very nice.
Look at that
Fancy.
formal gown.
You really didn't have to go through all that trouble for us, but
I like to bring a little pizzazz to the show. Someone's got to do it.
Well, and formality is pretty much what we're known for.
Yeah, that's part of our corporate narrative, actually.
Right.
I was going to match it with a Mets hat, but the color scheme just didn't work out.
Well, but wait. Blue and orange, if you combine them, they may be purplish.
Speaking
more
of
like
which,
a brown. I don't know.
Speaking of, my idea of sprucing things up a bit is adding a little color.
I see. Purple.
I see. Very fancy.
Well, it's like it's purple, and I kind of have a thing for purple because of this guy that I still love hearing when I get a chance to play, Prince. So I thought this would be a nice if I could only get some mist, coming down,
maybe one of the RGB lighting special effects things is rain, like rain. See,
yes,
there's probably
purple rain.
Yeah, that would be so perfect.
I'll work on that. I'll have my people work on that. Anyway.
All right. We'll
all right. Hey, it's Thursday, and for the I don't know how many weeks in a row now. It's been a lot.
1.2 million. I figured
Something
out
like that.
last night. I calculated it. I used an algorithm.
And there's our buddy Sven, and this time around he's actually going with English to start out, which is nice. I like that. Time for switching of CNN and jump into
BBC. No, that's fair. BBC is good. It'll work.
Okay, but it's the CRM Playaz, and we got a lot of good stuff to talk about this week. So thanks, Sven, for picking. Actually, Sven was kind of getting worried because he checked in at what was 3:00, which was 2:00. No, whatever. He checked in at 2:00 thinking it was time because they didn't move the clocks back there. So he was wondering what's going on. I said, no, we're good. We're here. We'll be here for you. And what's Thomas saying?
Just be sure it doesn't also rain in your studio.
And Boston Bob chimes in with umbrella.
No, that was the idea was for it to rain in the studio. That's the whole idea, right?
Yeah.
Rain, purple rain. You're not going to get purple rain outside. Brent's got a purple light. Then you add a rain thing effect in the studio. So the rain is purple. I'm just trying to clarify a bit some of the.
I'm trying really hard not to break out in song here. I just wanted to let you know.
No,
hands up in the air.
Go.
All right.
Let's do it.
Well, all right. But so before we get going, you're all dressed up, and I know it's not for us. What's going on?
So a couple close friends of mine are part of a nonprofit that has helped build a school in Haiti after the earthquake several years back, and they're graduating it's like a K through 12 school. These kids have started and are graduating, and it's the first year of students graduating. So they always have an annual gala, but this year is extra special because they're going to be able to stream the kids in to join and, talk about their experience in the school. So pretty excited about that. And that's shortly after this. So I thought, hey, doll up for both.
That's fantastic. Actually, that's really fantastic. Cool.
It is.
Yeah.
This is the first virtual, formal event I think I've heard of. This is cool.
Yeah. Definitely that.
I'm sure there have been others, but I just haven't.
Well, actually, no. You know what? John Krasinski's prom night that he did on SGN was formal, right? He had all these kids who were dressed up, dancing with their sisters and brothers and mothers and fathers, and Legend and The Weeknd were John Legend and The Weeknd were singing, at the prom, and Oprah showed up. I mean, big prom night. Yeah, no, he did it. He did it right.
Oprah
it was
just was in the neighborhood.
formal.
Yeah, just rolled up.
Well, it kind of was like that, really, the way he did it. It was pretty cool.
Oh, there's Oprah. Hey,
yeah, come on in, Oprah.
Should we try that? Hey, Oprah, you want to drop in on this?
Didn't she just comment about something?
The crow nuts are not good enough for her to like.
No. She got that diva thing about having the dressing rooms and the green rooms all set up. I remember years ago at SAP had this thing where I think it was SAP. J-Lo was the singer and the concert, and apparently not only did she charge uncountable millions of dollars, but she had like 20 different special requirements up to and including the type of candy in her dressing room.
Yeah, like no brown M&Ms. You can only have like green and blue and no brown. If somebody sees a brown, if I see a brown M&M, somebody's getting fired. That's how bad I heard it was.
That's right. We'll talk about some of that on the sports show tomorrow. Dan Snyder.
But by the way, I'm not a fan of the brown M&Ms either, so I didn't have a problem with it.
No, they taste so different.
Yeah.
I used to like the red ones.
All right, we just gotta quickly address Sven, because Sven he's off and running already. He wants to raise up this great 12-year-old quote from something called CRM 2.0.
Probably a quote from a 12-year-old. Yeah, I recognize it. Gee, that's really tough to figure out. Let me think. First of all, it was a total giveaway when it said CRM 2.0, because I actually gave that one up because Brent was calling it social CRM. And when I wrote that post, the stake in the ground, the first thing I was talking about was I basically like what Brent was calling it better than what I was calling it. So I'm stopping calling it CRM 2.0 and I'm calling it social CRM instead. So the giveaway was before he even put up the quote. Right?
I know, that's true. That was a long time ago. It seems like forever.
He said 12 years ago. So what was it? Wow.
That is forever. That's officially forever. Yeah. Well, anyway, we got to move forward. We got to press on because there's a lot of stuff to do and talk about. And I know you want to talk about show the BYOB promos that we got in just yesterday or sometime this week.
Yesterday. So BYOB is progressing along really well. We actually, I'm not going to say from whom because we'll save it, but we actually have the first 3 full music videos from one of the contestants, and they're not even archived. They're entombed until everyone's are in, right? Because no one's going to see them until everyone's are in. But they're in, they're locked away. But we also now have 5 promos, and we're going to show you 2 new ones today. In fact, right now, we're going to show you Zoho.
Yep.
And then I will tell you who the second one is after we show Zoho.
All right, let me do this. And let me do this. And here is Zoho.
Pari sari ma pani sari gari sani pa mari gari sani sari sari yentaro ma hanu ba du yentaro ma hanu ba du antari ki
tell you, that Rakib's talented, man. He somehow splits himself.
He was the guy on the box, right?
Right. He was the guy on the box and on the keyboard on the lower right. He was both.
Tell you, he's inspired me. I'm breaking out my Ableton push. I'm about to get busy at some point, not during the show, but I've been inspired. I will do this.
I'm telling you, man. Rakib, the man. Right. So, all right. So now the other one we have is Pegasystems, the layer cakes, and this, just watch it.
All right, here we go.
Ain't no sunshine when he's gone. It's not warm when he's away. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone. He's always gone too long. Anytime he goes away. And I know. Hey, I ought to leave this man alone. Ain't no sunshine when he's gone.
Go, Jeff. Some heavy hitters. That's all I can say. We got heavy
I
hitters.
just
So
like
we got
how serious they look. Like Jeff, he really looked like he was like really getting into that thing. And the saxophone player, I mean, he was working
rolling.
it.
Well,
Like, he was
the other
doing all
thing-
that, muscles bulging and everything. It's pretty interesting.
this at least three basically C-level execs who are in that band. CMO, the CTO, and the head of global CRM for the company are all in that band. So it's like, we know that minimally for this competition, they've got corporate buy-in for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it definitely seems as such.
Yeah.
So all right,
So
so that's good. Well, that was like the 5th promo or something.
Yeah, we got 5 more coming in. We'll of course air them as we get them. Hopefully we'll have some more for you next week, unless people are a little slow to get them to us. So we'll see.
All right.
When's the deadline for everyone to have their songs in?
December 4th. December 4th, everyone, they literally don't have them in that day. With the idea was very relaxed all the time. We've kept it relaxed, except for that day. If you don't have them in by 6 p.m. Pacific time on December 4th, you are disqualified. It's as simple as that, right? So,
better get them in.
mm-hmm.
So that's to say.
The only day that we're formal.
Yes. So we had to mention another thing.
I'm not sure.
I wasn't talking to you, A.
She's always talking, man.
It's always talking behind my back, literally. So next Monday, remember we were like a week ago, we were talking about Larry Ellison was going to be doing his Future is CX keynote, and it was supposed to take place, I think it was on October the 29th or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we were saying, well, it was going to be at the same time as CRM Playaz. So we were like, we want to see Larry talk about CX, because quite honestly, I don't think we've ever seen Larry talk about CX. But we also want to keep our streak going, because we've been doing this like for 1 million weeks in a row. So we wanted to keep that going as well. So we decided we were going to attempt to do the very first CRM Playaz Watch Party and watch Larry's keynote while doing the show and commenting a la Mystery Science Theater kind of action. And we got such positive response. Oh, yeah, this is going to be great. It's going to be great. So we're like, yeah, we're going to do it. And then just as we are really going to push the button and promote it pretty heavily, our dear friend over at Oracle, Kim Guillaume, got to make sure I say that French like Guillaume, like
Guillaume.
Guillaume. There it is. She said, looks like Larry's keynote's going to get moved to November the 9th, which is a Monday, which kind of like, you know, we were like, but we said, you know what? Because the people seem to want it, and quite honestly, we wanted to try something new too. We're going to do it still. We're going to go with the first CRM Playaz Watch Party, Mystery Science Theater 3001, A Space Oddity, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to do it. We're gonna. It's like David Bowie and the guy who directed 2001. What's the guy's name that directed?
No, Stanley Kubrick.
Stanley Kubrick, David Bowie, Mystery Science Theater, all wrapped up into one with us. Boy, who knows how that's going to turn out? But we're going to try it anyway, right?
Yeah. So I think, if I remember correctly, Larry's actual speech, not the entire event.
No, just the CX part. Yeah,
right.
Larry's.
That's from East Coast time. I think from noon to 1, something like that. Yeah, it's a 1 hour speech. Yeah, roughly, a little less. So we'll be doing it then. We'll put out the word. Don't worry.
Yeah, the word will go out. So let it be written. So let it be whatever. So we're going to do that. We're still going to, get the horse out. So we're going to try that. And we hope that you join us. And the whole idea is, we're going to watch Larry. We're going to, comment like we kind of typically do when we're at those events, actually at the physical events. We always have a little back channel. We always kind of talk about what's going on, what we think. So we're going to actually take our back channel to the live stream and hopefully have you guys commenting too and bring up all sorts of, whatever. This is an experiment. So we want to try it out and we'll see how it goes.
Think of it this way. As disgusting as this may sound, we're going to do verbal tweeting. And that doesn't actually sound totally
that doesn't
disgusting.
Really sound good.
No, it really sounds bad.
Yeah,
we'll like an actual like there's something wrong with you physically if you're doing verbal tweeting. So you need to take medicine.
Yeah, which I have plenty of if we need it. All right. So before we get to our guest, because we definitely want to get to our guest because he's got some cool things to talk about. I want to pose a question to you two. Because I just got this email from the folks over at Adobe Analytics to be exact. And they have talked about, or they put out a number that says how much online was spent by U.S. consumers on election day. So I'd like for you guys to take a guess as to how much money was actually spent online by U.S. consumers on election day.
Well, I'll stay out of that because you remember you momentarily put that slide up. I saw it.
No.
Right. So I'm out. I'm out. So Ginger, this is on you. Totally your guess.
That's a tough question because on one hand, did sales go up because of retail therapy? Everyone was stressed out, so they were like buying like crazy. And, on the other hand, was everyone, staying away from technology and, just meditating all day? So it's tough.
How did you know what I did?
I don't know.
Take a guess.
I don't know.
And anybody out there, if you want to take a guess in the comment section, do it right now because I'm not going to do this.
$10 million.
Did you say 10 million? 10 million or billion? 10 million.
Billion.
10 million.
No, 10. I don't know. I'm really bad at numbers. Like you're asking a writer to do numbers.
Yeah, amen. You did great on English part of your SATs.
So if I gave you I'll just throw a number out and you say if it's higher or lower. I'm going to say $5 billion. Is it higher or lower?
Higher.
Higher. I think she said higher. So we're gonna we'll stick with that. And the answer is, and I see, let's see. Thomas says 2 billion. Bob Fagel says the U.S. national debt.
And Ginger, when she said higher, it was one of those higher, lower. It's one of those
combination.
She can do whatever she wants with the end of that one.
You know what? So I'm thinking that Thomas must have got the same email as I did, because the answer is 1.9 billion online on election day.
Mostly on alcohol, I assume.
Damn.
You get delivered.
Prescription drugs, alcohol.
Right. Alcohol. That was 1.8 billion. Right.
So
and the rest.
But look, it says that's down 12% compared to the previous 3 days. So
let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this. Is that actually significant one way or the other, really? Right? No, seriously. That's just like, to me, honestly, that's like Adobe just kind of giving us data to give us data. Right. I don't see what, in fact, that actually proves. 12% is not that dramatic a drop. It's
not. But it's a data point, and we like data. And I bet people who are selling online, they like to know what's going on too.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. I just, data for data's sake there for me, man. I don't think that's
wasn't that a Dire Straits song? Data for data's sake.
Yeah. Well, it's when people are in dire straits, they give you numbers like that. Right.
One other point. So from November 1st to the 4th, 29% year over year, online increased sales, 8.4 billion. So yeah. Okay. Just some numbers. All right. So that's the number portion for the show. And now, because I see him in the green room, and I don't know. We must be out of crow nuts, because I never see anybody actually eating anything in the green room.
And they never come in with powdered sugar on their
like mouth, that Homer Simpson glazed donut. Right. Never on that. All right. So with us, and I haven't talked to him in so long. It's good to see him. Neil Davey. Look at this guy.
Man.
Here he is.
Where were the donuts? Where were the donuts?
Yeah, I actually,
there would be none left if I'd have.
Yeah, I told him. I said donuts though, because I didn't think he'd know what a cronut was.
Good to see you, man.
Exactly.
We don't even know what it is either.
No,
it's a croissant donut combination.
I've never eaten one, so I'm still looking for the brookie. I want.
Think of on a cronut. Think of it as an incredibly heavy croissant. Right. It's like loaded with way more fat and butter than a croissant.
Sounds good. Yeah. If there's one issue that I have with croissants, is that when you try to cut them to kind of get the jam in there, is that the integrity is not great on there. Right. I could do with a bit more firmness and a bit more. Yeah, a bit more.
Got to have that integrity.
We'll do a show on the integrity of pastry.
So we got so caught up in the pastry talk, we didn't fully introduce him. It's Neil Davey. He is the managing editor for mycustomer.com. And I've known you for over a decade. I think you were one of the first folks who actually interviewed me on a video. Like when I came to London and we did that.
It was yeah. Right.
Yeah.
The thinny reel. Yeah.
Do you still have the crank?
That's right. Yeah.
Helicine.
Yeah, we'd have to speed adjust it now.
It feels like I'm Babe Ruth, like running in there.
Right. That's right. And Neil actually, when he would play the video, would take his finger and kind of run like run around like this to get it.
And that kind of music was playing in the background.
The days of steam-powered CRM.
Well, hey, it's good to see you, man, because I can't even remember the last time we actually talked, let alone
it's been normally we catch up at the beginning of every year, don't we, Brent? But I think I'm not sure with everything going on this year. Yeah.
It's good to see you.
I know Neil and I were talking a few weeks ago, and we realized the last time we'd seen each other was I was in London at Thunderhead doing advisory, and Lucy Cooper, who runs London Analyst Relations, said, "Hey, I'm meeting with Neil Davey. You want to go?" And I said, "Are you kidding?" Of course. And we met. That was like 7 years ago, I think.
It was a while ago. Yeah, I'd say
5.
about 4 or 5.
Yeah, 5.
All right.
5. You're right.
I got to put up this comment, and it says it's from LinkedIn user, but we all know who that is.
Well, Neil might not. It's Esteban, Neil.
Good old Esteban Kolsky, also known as Digital Pestilence. For reasons like
true.
this.
Yeah, that's how long ago it has been. Yeah, in the industry, I had hair. Yeah.
Wow, what is this? This is like here goes Finn.
Wow. They're all piling on you already, Neil. Piling on you. The guy's up at 8:00 at night in London for this, guys. Come on. Give him
such a loving audience. It's not.
But maybe he means that. I'm going to take that he means it in a good way.
Oh well, look at
there you go. Chris Buckholz
coming to your defense, man.
Content people jump in.
Content pros unite.
That's right. Content producers.
All right, so Bob actually has a good question.
Oh, Bob, that is City rather than Gas. Bristol Rovers are known as the Gas. Bristol City.
Okay.
Although Liverpool are actually my kind of first team, but Bristol is my local team. So
there it is.
Yeah.
Josh Greenbaum.
Josh Greenbaum is saying everybody looks good to him. It's good to know. Yeah.
So Neil, listen. You guys today announced your CX Leader of the Year award. First, before you even break the suspense out there on this and tell people who it is, in case they don't know already, tell people about the award and the history of the award a little bit, because it's a great. This is a genuine, like, something you want to be, right? You want to achieve to get this award. So can you fill people in a little?
Yeah, certainly. So so we started it last year. So this is the sophomore year, which I know is a great cliche that I just thought I'd shoehorn in there. But the idea of it was, my customer, as you folks know, we've been around in some form or other for the best part of kind of 2 decades, really. But as my customer, the brand since 2007. So we've been sort of serving up, but providing, resources and data and not data for data's sake, I might add, Paul, but good data, resources, practical advice, interviews, you name it, just to kind of help, senior customer service professionals and customer experience professionals to kind of, drive cultural, strategic, technical, operational change at their organization. So we've been doing that for however long. And it was only really in the last few years that we've really, I think you folks have had these kind of customer experience professionals for a lot longer than we have over in the UK. A few years ago, it was very rare that I'd get handed a business card in an event that had any kind of head of CX or VP of CX, chief customer officer, whatever. But in the last few years, it just suddenly really gained legs over in the UK and Europe. And so we kind of thought, well, the funny thing is with the customer experience field is that you kind of, everyone that you hear talking about it, it's always sort of the thought leaders, and it's the kind of, with all due respect, it's the kind of consultants as well. But we never really, there's no kind of high profile, where are the actual folks who are at the coalface, where are these guys? So we thought, well, it's about time that we kind of raised their profile and gave them, championed their work. And so last year we kind of put the first year in action. It was obviously, it's a bit kind of dipping your toe in there. You have no idea what kind of reaction you're going to get. We didn't really, there's no benchmark to know what's kind of a successful amount of applications or anything like that. And we had a sort of set of judges. We've got Ian Golding from the CXPA, and we had a whole bunch of other really good folks. We had Gene Bliss and Michael Hinshaw, Diane Magers, Adrian Swinsker. So it's a real bunch of good guys. And the process is sort of fairly rigorous. The questions we're asking for like supporting material and so on. So we're really kind of running the rule over these guys. It's not just a kind of cut and paste job of their CV. We want them to actually tell us a story about what they've achieved. And so the first year we had just shy of, I think, sort of 50 applications, of which not all were kind of complete, but most of them were complete. And that seemed pretty good. So we had kind of a top 25 last year, the winner of which I know you're very familiar with, Paul, Sandra De Zoysen from Dialogue Axiata. I know that you speak very highly of her. I think that in a way was a bit of an endorsement of our of our kind of process in the way that when I told you who was the winner, that you were
blew me away.
Stoked, yeah. And so she then became because she was the winner. She went on our judging panel for this year, and this year we had again we kind of course we launched this thing, and then coronavirus decides to kind of land on top of all of us. So again, it kind of threw all of our benchmarks out of the window. We were, well, does this mean we're kind of going to get a lot less applications, or what? Who knows what's going to happen? Maybe this is going to be a nightmare. But actually, we doubled the amount of applications we had from last year, and it's been a fantastic sort of process. And again, we tried to do kind of a short list of kind of the highly commended. We did like a 25 kind of finalists and a highly commended. We last year we tried to do 5 highly commended, that we would then pass to the judges, and then they kind of choose the winner. Well, last year we couldn't do it. We just couldn't break it from 6. We just couldn't do it. It was impossible. We'll go with 6. Well, next year we'll keep it 6 next year. This year 7. We just couldn't get it down from 7. So next year you can probably see what's going to happen next year. So quite how long it's going to be until the 25 finalists are kind of all the highly commended. And so we announced the winner today. It's James Scott at the post office. So we got a Brit this year winning it. And he's more than deserving. I mean, the work that he's done on kind of culture, empowering his staff, and kind of working to shift away everything from the kind of top-down control. Working on customer understanding and the kind of voice of the customer programs he's put in place. I mean, it was kind of really seriously impressive, and he was the winner, I think, really by a decent margin. He was very, very impressive. So, and we're going to kind of follow up with these folks now and have some more information about them. The highly commended and the finalists and the winner as we go on in the coming months, just to share more information about them and their programs and what we can learn from it. So it's been really good. I mean, it's if nothing else, I think it just gives the industry a chance to give itself a pat on the back, which I think is.
No, I think it's a great idea. I mean, a couple of things jump out. Guy from the Postal Service winning CX.
Is that likely to happen on your side of the pond?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm understanding you lost like 20,000 letters the other day.
Our guy's getting sued by everybody. Your guy wins the award.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure people realize this. Not our guy won this.
No, your guy.
Not our guy. It's the guy across the pond. It's not Louis, as I like to call him. It's not Louis DeJoy. First of all, how did he get a name like DeJoy? Because he ain't bringing no DeJoy around here.
Right, you're not kidding. Well, never mind.
The jerk.
That's where I was going. Exactly what I was about to say, but I'll just let the lawsuits speak for themselves.
I think it's really cool that you're doing that and giving the honor. I know, and our own player in residence, Ginger Conlon, she's done some of these things too. And you could talk a bit about why these kinds of things are important.
Yeah, they're important, as Neil said, to give the recognition to the people who are succeeding, because it shows what's possible. I when I was at One-to-One Media, we had the One-to-One Customer Champion Awards, similar to what you're doing, Neil, and it was probably one of my favorite things to do, because the people were just amazing. And at that point, it wasn't just CX titles. It was customer-centric, either CX people or marketing people or analytics people. So I actually, on my wall next to me, it's got a bunch of pictures, so I won't bring it over and hold it in front of the camera, but I've got a photo of the 2008 class of One-to-One Customer Champions.
Wow.
These people are just amazing. And what was cool about it was showing that you could be really customer centric and not necessarily own CX, but make sure that the company is thinking about the customer and has that customer seat at the table, making in all the strategic decision making meetings. And it was just great to hear the stories that what these people were able to accomplish. And then I was actually a founding board member of CXPA. And, again, just Well, one of the fun things, and one of the things I noticed about James, the winner this year of your award, Neil, is that the role didn't exist before, and he went and, said, I think we should have this role, and here's what I can do with it over the next 5 years. And so many people that I've met over the years that are in CX leadership roles got their role because they were the squeaky wheel, and the CEO was like, okay, you fix it, and they just took it from there and, accomplished so much in their company. So it's great that you're doing this and really shining a light on what people are able to do when you take some action around the customer.
Yeah, I think you're right as well. It's like, as you say, it's so many of these folks, it's kind of a passion project in a way, and you do speak to so many of them, and particularly the ones when, like you say, it's kind of, they're the ones that started it off, they were the catalyst for it in the first place. And it's pretty inspirational. It goes beyond them just doing it because they want a check at the end of the month. You genuinely feel that these folks have, as I say, they've got a passion for wanting to do it, and that's pretty inspiring, I think.
Yeah, it's also interesting to see how customer experience has developed in terms of leadership, because some have come up from customer service, and others have come up from the voice of the customer, and still others have come from just like a marketing role that kind of evolved to also making sure that customers are taken care of, or so it's evolving in all these ways depending on what kind of company and what their culture is like and their priorities.
Absolutely. Interestingly, we did a survey of about 100 CX leaders. It would have been beginning of the year, and that's one of the big findings for us, was that where did they come from in the organization? And actually, it's a surprise. I was kind of thinking that anticipating that perhaps about half are going to be from marketing, but actually it was sort of far smaller than that. But it is kind of it's kind of spread out, although it looks like a growing proportion now. Kind of, they have come up through, it's been there long enough now that they've come up through a kind of a CX kind of pathway to get there. So it's, they're kind of pure CXers rather than service or marketing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, they do come from funny places. There are outlying cases. Like, I remember actually one of my clients years ago, the actual champion of really, I call it more customer-centric involvement, of developing the programs for involving customers more actively, because this predates CX as a entity, so to speak, was the CFO, which is a very unusual place for one to come from. But he understood it from the standpoint, it almost would make obvious sense. Happy customers mean more revenue and greater profitability and less churn and, fewer headaches to put money into, to deal with. And he totally got it from that perspective, but he also got it because he was a good guy. I mean, and that's also another part of it, I think, that it's not really overlooked, but it tends to not be talked up much, is most of the people who are very successful at it are genuinely nice human beings. They're not just doing it for some pure business purpose. They're doing it because they actually like other people and they want them to be happy too, right? So, and there is that element of it, which really does, I think, play very strongly in that. I mean, that was Sandra's thing when I met her. I've known her 12 years, and she was like that all 12 years. And the one thing that you always notice about her is always of good cheer would be the way to put it.
Yeah, they need to be inspiring figures. I think that's the thing. They need to be inspirational. They need to be good communicators. They need to be good networkers, because they're going to connect quite a lot of different departments from around the organization. And if you're a monster, that's probably not going to work. So they've got to be.
Since you're talking about that, I noticed in the ebook that you had identified 5 common traits of elite, not just CX leaders, but elite. So why don't you take us through that?
I mean, we did this. We actually did a sort of a piece of work at the end of the last competition, the last award, and we were just sort of digging through. It's sort of pretty mucky work, but we were just digging through what are the commonalities that we could find in these, and in last year, obviously we took the top 25 best, and what are the commonalities amongst the top 25 finalists last year. And that's quite hard in actual fact, because some of these applications are quite big and there's a lot of supporting material, but we sort of dug through it and we found several commonalities, and you can see there some of them there, and it was sure enough this year, pretty much kind of the same again. You see the same emphasis on customer listening. NPS is a sort of a popular measuring tool for it. How valuable it is kind of up for the debate really, but it seems to be the kind of but it seems to be this the stat that they use most often. Although this year it was refreshing to see how many were kind of also tying it back to financial metrics as well, which we didn't see so much of last year. So I think that there's some sort of development there. But yeah, there's certainly commonality there. Culture, a big one. Employee engagement again. So we see these. We see these things running through so many of the strongest candidates.
So I gotta say, wait a minute. I think I saw something here, a little dissension among the ranks here when the NPS was mentioned.
Oh.
I saw some thumbs going down, but then I saw some thumbs going up. I think we need to explore this. So I would like for Mr. Paul Greenberg to explain why his thumbs went down, and then we'll get the retort from Miss Ginger Conlon, whose thumbs went up.
I will tell you a story, Start. Unfortunately, you're asking me for what's actually a pretty damn long answer, so I hate to say it. Well, it's your fault. Right. Right. It's entirely your fault.
Remember, we've got Adobe in 18 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware. Right. It won't be that long. So here's the thing. When NPS was created, it was useful in one regard. It brought attention to the idea of advocacy versus just loyalty. And that was important. And it was. However, the measure itself, which is, the one question, which is more of a gimmick, which is, would you recommend this company to someone you know? And everyone always said, oh, well, the big thing about that is, of course, skin in the game because it's someone you know and blah, 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 blah. So a guy who, unfortunately, I think is, let's say, personally discredited, but did some yeoman work for many years on customer engagement, actually inadvertently, and it wasn't inadvertent, he wasn't talking about NPS at all, kind of knocked it out basically by what actually his research showed. He did studies of people in telco and financial services, and they totaled 15,000 respondents. And there was 4 questions. He was trying to develop metrics for engagement value, which was obviously important, because there's so many indirect things that impact that besides revenue. And here's what the metric said. He said, of the 15,000, he asked them 4 questions. First one was the NPS question. Would you recommend this company to someone you know? Was what they asked the respondents. And of the respondents, I think it was 69% said yes, they would. But it was the second question that kind of knocked NPS out, which was, did you recommend this company to someone you know? And it was asked of the person who said would. Yes, they would. And they found out that less than 2/3 of them actually did, right? Meaning at least 33% of respondents were BSing, right? And they were just saying what you wanted to hear, right? Plus, there's a lot more that goes into, and look, there's a lot of other data that goes to the heart of that. Companies, I don't have anything against it per se, except that they over rely on it, and it's been used and it turned into a gimmick, right? As and yeah, that's Esteban. I mean, and that's where I have a problem. I don't look. If anybody, I totally believe in advocacy at every level, and in fact, my whole discussion of customers is your program as a company should be to aim at creating advocates and settle for loyalty, right? But you're not going to delight customers all the time either, so you're not going to get as many advocates as you probably would like. But NPS that's way too gimmicky a way, I guess, at this point to look at how to actually create advocates. There's a book. There's a book by Kumar, which is on engagement value, and it's complex. It's a deep book on, it's academic too, so that makes it complicated without having to be. But I spent the entire chapter, I think it's chapter 16 of my last book, breaking down his engagement value metrics, right, and what they actually mean relative to what it would, basically taking his 400 pages and turning it into 20. Right, because it's complicated. But the just saying that with that, it's not would you, it's did you. That's actually a much more important question. Anyway, intent is the only reason to analyze and understand intent is to anticipate behavior that actually was likely to occur. Right? If it doesn't occur, then you're not an advocate if you don't do it. Okay, that's the whole idea of advocacy is you take an action. And unfortunately, a third of the people don't take any action. And who knows about the other 2/3, given that a third of them already had lied, right? So that's why I don't put a lot of stock in NPS. And I think it's way over relied upon. They have.
Okay,
that's the short version.
Before we get to Ginger's retort, I just got to point out our buddy Digital Pestilence, aka LinkedIn user, aka Esteban Kolsky. I've never heard Charlatans of Platitudes. That just sounds like such a cool title or description to give somebody you just don't like. Charlatans of Platitudes. That's good. And I would just suggest maybe that you make the hashtag NPS still sucks, because that apparently is kind of the missing word in there from you guys. Okay. With that said, I turn the floor over to Ginger Conlon.
Okay, so when NPS should not be the end all. It should be one of many measures that you use to consider customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, what have you. What it is, to me, really is one element of sentiment analysis. Yeah, it's not an action measure. Would you recommend is would, it's not did, right? So that's clear. It's also a starting point. So would you recommend, if you don't ask why or why not, you're not getting enough information. That's the meat is the why or why not. And that's where you take the numbers and say, okay, I only care about whatever, I'm just going to make it up, the 6 and 7s and what their comments are, because those are the people most likely to move up to 8s and 9s, which means if we move them up to 8s and 9s, we're going to make more money from those people. So if they're only 6 or 7 likely to recommend us, why is it that number? And then when you dig into the why, you can find out what problems, what's not good enough, what process issues are they facing, and then you take the action. That's where it makes the difference. Just asking, would you recommend us? Yeah, whatever. If that's all you do, it's not enough. You need to take the steps after that give you the information that you can take action and make a change. Well,
one last thing on that, which is I've talked to about 3 years ago. I just happened to have a conversation with a Verizon guy in charge of NPS for Verizon. He was at a conference and we were talking about it. And what you say ideally makes complete sense, except if it's not how people use it, right?
Fresh Direct uses it like that every single day.
Well, and Verizon uses them every day. To me, honestly, doesn't mean that much. Using it when you need to use it is fine, but Verizon did it every day too. It wasn't that. It was let's say the number was more important than the reasons for it. Let's say that. Okay, and it wasn't just Verizon. It was also, what I was going to say, that led me to look into it, right? And I looked into ultimately about 10 or 12 companies over the year. and they all pretty much were just looking to get the number. It became the metric was the metric that mattered to them was the score. So, and they were using it for marketing purposes. And that's pretty, you said our NPS score is. How often do you see that? Like all the time, right? And that immediately takes it out of any actual value because it's just a marketing, becomes a marketing tool that ultimately the company doesn't actually look into what it takes to me, it's slightly different version of, but to create an advocate, right? It's just something that they use so they have a number that says, hey, we're good, right? And that's usually not even the case when they are good, right? So you dig, and yeah, it's one step. Of course, it's like CSAT, same deal, right? CSAT is probably a little more meaningful because it's a lesser stat, right? It's in a certain way. I mean, it's a more important stat in one regard, but it's a lesser stat in terms of the depth of it, right? So it's just basically, you like us, yeah, we still like you, okay, right? So all of those things have severe limitations, and they're all oversubscribed and overused because people want to look good without actually necessarily doing the work it takes to be good. I'm not saying, look, Fresh Direct may have been amazing. I don't know much about how they work behind the scenes, and I appreciate that. There were people who probably did well with it. But on the whole, Frederick Bain basically made a ton of money off it, and so did his consulting firm, right? So, and I applaud him for one thing, bringing attention to advocacy. That I give him a lot of credit for, and I appreciate that. But the NPS itself, to me, is just, I've seen no value in it for years. And once it went from would to did, until you get to did, it's meaningless, and you got to get to did. So
that's way to go. We got to get the did, folks. We got to get the did.
So I'll just say one thing on that. Sometimes you would recommend, but you don't have anyone to recommend it to, because it's not something that other people would use.
So you know what? In that case, you literally don't respond to the question. Right? You literally don't even
saying answer. There's exceptions for everything. So.
Right, and Fresh Direct may be a great exception to the rule, and if you can use it for some good, then more power to you. And you should be, and that's who should talk about it. Them, you and them should actually literally. I'm not kidding. Make a public case, not a public case.
But why?
Why? Because people should understand how to do these things the right way, and that's the right way. That's why. It's the right way. The right way is the right way. I mean, the problem is most people are not using any. You make it a marketing statement, it's not right.
What makes it different in their case is that they use it to generate customer feedback, and then they actually take action on the customer feedback. So it's not so much that it's NPS itself. It's that they actually use customer feedback, because the problem that you're making the point of when you're talking about NPS and customer sat scores is that a lot of companies ask the question, would you recommend? Are you satisfied? What would you change about us? And then it goes into a big black hole and nothing ever happens, right? Marketing. So it's the companies that actually do the next step and respond and take an action that are, winners in a way, because they're using the information, and they create a better customer experience because the customers feel heard. Like, this thing in my experience sucked. Okay, well, here's what we did. We fixed it. Awesome.
So there are quite a lot of folks. There are quite a lot of folks in our during the CX Leader Year applications that we noticed that they are actually being like their KPI as a CX leader is an NPS score.
Exactly.
And that to me sort of is alarm bells ringing. But I mean if that's what they're being touted, that's their key, their KPI, that's their main target, then that's what they're going to be trying to improve. Scary. And there are different ways of doing that. I mean, you can game NPS, and that I think is sort of that is a concern. If that's not necessarily their fault. I mean, they might be if they're less scrupulous, might sort of say, okay, well, that's great. I'm being tasked with improving NPS. I'll improve NPS. I can do that. We can do that. That's not too hard. But I think that's a fault of kind of senior management. Then if that's what if they're under the impression that that's the kind of what they should be getting out of their CX leaders, heads of customer experience and stuff. So.
Well, and it goes to the heart of why your award's actually extremely valuable, because ultimately it's based on the fact these are people actually doing something to accomplish something with their customers in ways that benefit everybody, right? And they're taking the actions to do it, and they're developing the mindsets, the strategies, the cultures to sustain it. And that makes the award exceptionally valuable because it singles out the people who are really doing the work. So let me also take this to a completely different direction with mycustomer.com. Because look, as you know, Neil, and I love the site. I have for years. And I think it's some of the best content you'll see anywhere in the industry, consistently. Some of the best content you'll see anywhere in the industry. And at the same time, it's got good reach. We've talked about this before. You have actually a pretty decent base in the US, but I wish it was more people understood that they should go to you first, right? With their, in effect, wake up and drink their coffee and go to mycustomer.com. Think of it this way. You've already had 5 more hours to get stuff up, and up to 8 more hours, right? So what, now, and I've been tracking, obviously reading and tracking this year. And obviously I've seen a lot more, you've geared obviously a lot more toward digital and pure, in the pure sense of the word, than in the past. But I'm really curious more than that is, okay, so this year we go into another year, let's say another year of, I'm going to try to discourage anyone here, but another year potentially of COVID, lockdowns and other things till we get to the point where we can at least be reasonably safe going out on a routine basis again. But life is going to continue after that one way or the other. So how's mycustomer.com looking at not next year per se, but the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, given new normal, all the other things we're talking about? Where you going?
Great timing. My boss would be delighted to hear you asking me that question, because we're going through the process of a 3-year planning as we speak. We had our first workshop 2 weeks ago, first time back in the office in 6 months. So that was,
now you're locked down again.
But are they getting shut down?
You're locked down again.
We are. We're back in lockdown 2, the revenge. So yeah, we're back in lockdown again. So I don't think that was because we all had our 3-year planning meeting there. But we are working on that. I mean, it's we're part of a portfolio of titles owned by a digital publisher. We aren't the jewel in the crown. We have there are other sites that kind of have bigger reach and are more commercially successful. But it does feel like actually this time we've got the sort of board commitment, because we've had a really successful couple of years, particularly the last couple of years, in spite of everything. And so, yeah, I don't know. Watch this space. This is what we're sort of planning out now. It's always been. I've been on the site for since 2007, since when I had hair, as Esteban pointed out. And during that time, it's always been a case of, okay, so what resources have we got? How can we best use those resources? And we'll do that. What's going to be the most successful? What's going to get the most views? Have the most reach, and just generally being of the most value to the community. And this time it's like, now I'm so used to doing that. So then being encouraged to say, well, actually, forget about what resources you got. What resources could, if you had infinite resources, what would you do then? We're being asked that kind of question now. So, and we're unfamiliar with that. So this is the plan, but who knows? Yeah, I don't want to say spoiler alerts.
Well, I'll tell you, when you actually have worked some of that, when you guys have actually come through with some of that, you should need to come back on and talk about it. Because look, honestly, I'm not joking. Wake up in the morning, if you happen to drink coffee, get your coffee and go to mycustomer.com and just read. The value you get is enormous, and I always want. It's also, by the way, and this is, there's at least 3 of the 4 of us, one way or the other, are related to journalism here, right? And from the standpoint of the quality of the writing too, it's really well written. I'm not like anything else. Not everything is, but the reality is the overall quality of writing on the site is very high, and so even in that regard, thus becomes easy to consume too. And so, highly recommend that you all go to mycustomer.com and starting. Let's see, what time is it? Oh, it's time actually to wrap up, but starting right now. Although it's a little late in the UK, but here in the US, starting right now, go read. Go read.
Get a cronut with your donut or your coffee. There it is. Cool. This has been good, man. It's a great award, and I'm glad that we were able to share it because can you maybe get us in contact with your post guy so that we can connect them with our post guy? And because I wouldn't even want to venture what the NPS score for the U.S. Postal Service would be right about now. So, do they give negatives? All right. And I want to start, anybody who has a good charlatan of platitude, shout them out, put them in the comments. We want to know who's your favorite charlatan of platitude. That would be really fun to know.
There's like a Tolkien novel in there somewhere.
What is it, Bilbo Baggins? I mean, I don't know. He was a
charlatan. No, doesn't it sound like a book should be named The Charlatan of Platitude?
Harry Potter and the Charlatan of Platitudes.
There you go. That's it. It's Harry Potter book.
So about a heavy metal album, I think. Heavy metal album.
Ooh, better.
I think, Neil, this is maybe your next award.
A rock band.
Yeah.
Rock band.
Yeah, the Cops.
The Charlatan of Platitudes.
There it is. The Cop
That's
Award.
right. The Cops. The Charlatans of Platitude.
It's almost like the Sultans of Swing, but
That's right. Charlatans of Platitude. Oh my God.
How did Dire Straits come out twice?
Dire Straits again.
I don't know how that happened. That'll probably never, ever happen again, but
It's never happened before, even once. So
well, something had to happen differently because Neil joined us for the very first time. And thanks again, man. We definitely need to make sure that you come back sooner rather than later.
Way sooner.
Thank you so much.
All right. Well, on behalf of Neil on the other side of the pond, I'm Brent Leary.
I'm Paul Greenberg.
And I'm Ginger Conlon.
We are the CRM Players, and we will see you. Well, some of us will see you tomorrow playing sports. Not going to be talking soccer though. Sorry, Neil. Maybe. Oh, pause for the cause.
Yeah, this is the freeze frame.